Slope and intercepts of line. The slope of a line is also what we call the steepness of a line. And maybe you can still recall from differential calculus, you also referred to the steepness as the gradient. Let us define slope. So given a line, the slope m of this line is the ratio of change in the y-coordinates of 2 points to the corresponding change in the x-coordinates. So given 2 points that lie on a line, the slope is equal to, change in y sub 2 minus y sub 1 divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1, where x sub 2 is not equal to x sub 1. Now, why is this so? Why must we put this restriction? Well, obviously, when x sub 2 is equal to x sub 1, x sub 2 minus x sub 1 is 0, and division by 0 is undefined. From your senior high school math or junior high school math, this is how you came to remember the slope. Change in y over change in x, or delta y divided by delta x. Example 1. Slope of a line. Determine the slope of each line. So for letter A, we can visibly see 2 points with their corresponding coordinates, 2, 4, and 0, 1. So what is the change in y? The change in y is 4 minus 1, which is equal to 3. What is the change in x? The change in x is equal to 2 minus 0, and that is equal to 2. And so this is the value of your slope. It is equal to 3/2. Letter B. So we have 2 points. Let us compute for the change in y, okay? So the change in y here is 0 minus 1. It's negative 1. And the change in x is 4 minus 0, which is 4. And so this is the slope of this line. When the coordinates of the points are not given and what is shown to you is only the graph, and if the grids are visible, okay, this is what you can do. You can just count it. You can just count the changes in x and y. So for letter A, okay, look at this. Starting from this point, what is the change in y? So what you do is you count 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's positive 3 because your y is increasing in value. 1, it became 2, 3, and 4. So it's a positive y. Okay, and then after that, the change in x, what you would do is from this point, you will walk horizontally. Okay, and how many changes in x? Okay, 1 and 2. Again, it's positive because coming from 0, the x-coordinate of this point is 0. You went to 1 and then you went to 2. Positive x. Positive 2. And so there you have it. The slope of this line is 3/2. How about this? It is a horizontal line. Obviously, it is equal to 0. And you can show that, you can illustrate that by using the definition of the slope. What is the change in y? Well, y is not changing. 2 minus 2 is 0. The change in x is equal to 6 minus 1. So the slope is 0 over 5, which is of course equal to 0. This one is a vertical line, okay, a vertical line. And the slope of vertical lines would have to be undefined. And we can show that by computing for the slope. The change in y is 3 minus 0. That's equal to 3. But the change in x, it does not change. X stays constant. X is 3. And 3 minus 3 is 0. So 3 divided by 0 is not 0, it is not infinity, it is undefined. The slope of vertical lines is undefined. Slope and graph. The slope describes how the graph of a line will appear in a rectangular coordinate system. And there are 4 distinct graphs that correspond to 4 possible values of the slope. If the slope is positive, okay, greater than 0, the line is increasing, okay? It rises from left to right, okay? So starting from the left, you will go to the right, it is increasing. If m is equal to 0, the line is horizontal. When the slope is less than 0, if it is negative, the line is decreasing. Starting from the left, you will go down or you will slide down. This one will happen when the slope is less than 0. And it is undefined when it is vertical. Okay? So, I'm sorry, I cannot draw a straight line. So this one would be a vertical line and its slope is undefined. Steepness of a line. When do we say that one line is steeper than the other? Well, we must, of course, compare their slopes. So given two lines, L sub 1 and L sub 2, both with positive slopes, the larger the slope is the line that is steeper than the other. So in this case, L sub 1 is greater than L sub 2, okay? What if the two lines have negative slopes? Again, the line that is steeper is the one in which the absolute value of the slope is greater than the absolute value of the other. So in this case, L sub 1 is steeper than L sub 2. Intercepts of a line. Let A times x plus by, which is equal to C, be the equation of the line. How do we define the x-intercept? So the x-intercept is pertaining to the intersection. Where does the line intersect the x-axis? So if you are given the equation, only the equation, what you do is you set y to 0 and then you solve for x. But when you are given the graph, all you have to do is look for the point of intersection between the horizontal axis, which is the x-axis, and the line. So for the y-intercept of the line, that is the point of intersection between the line and the y-axis, the vertical axis. If you are not given the graph, what you do is you set x to 0 and then solve for y. Find the x and y intercepts of each line. For letter A, so the equation is 2 times x plus 6y is equal to 15. To find the x-intercept, set y to 0, solve for x. 2x is equal to 15. Okay, and then solving for x is equal to 15 over 2 or 7 1/2. For the y-intercept, set x to 0 and solve for y. 6 times y is equal to 15. Y is equal to 2 1/2. That is the y-intercept. This is where, okay, your line will intersect the y-axis. Letter B. A times y is equal to 4 times x minus 5. Get the x-intercept. Set y to 0, solve for x. For x is equal to 5, x is equal to 5 over 4 or 1 1/4. When x is equal to 1 and 1/4, okay, that is the point where your line will intersect the x-axis. How about the y-intercept? Set x to 0 and solve for y. Y is equal to -5/8. What if your line is defined in this way? X is equal to 3. Okay, so when it's x equal to 3, okay, so let's say, for example, this is your horizontal axis or the x-axis. This is your vertical axis. 1, 2, 3. So your line is vertical and it intersects the x-axis at 3. The x-intercept is 3, but it has no y-intercept. Word problem. Example 7, coordinates of a point. A line has a slope of 2. Okay, 2 points of 4 and 5, and another point, -1 and n. We don't know n. We don't know the second coordinate of this second point lie on this same line. What is the value of n? So what we do is we set up the equation. The slope is change in y over change in x, and we are told it is equal to 2. By substitution, okay, change in y, n minus 5 divided by -1 minus 4. It is equal to this. The slope, which is 2, is equal to n minus 5 divided by -5. Solve for n, okay? So we multiply both sides of our equation by -5. -5 divided by -5 is 1. -5 times 2 is -10. Okay, so this is our equation. So what then is the value of n? N is equal to -10 plus 5, which is equal to -5. Okay, so this is one point with coordinates 4 and 5, and the other point would be the point with coordinates -1. So you have here -1 and -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.